ultimately the value of primary care is going to be its ability to bend the cost curve. Nothing we do makes sense unless we bend the cost curve. And we can't do that until we do a better job of integrating behavioral health. That's my judgment. Colorado in particular has emphasized that. That is, and what does that mean? It means a combination of co-location. It's figuring out the right kinds of collaboration with psychiatry. It's having therapy probably on time. And actually intervening with patients who have diabetes and depression. And we've made some progress with that. But we need also to begin going back to 20 or 25 years ago with our curricula, which is, all right, how do we practice care in a cost-effective way? And I think we need to reduce the total number of hospitalizations of our patients by about 25%. We need to cut our ED visits and consultations by 50%. And we need to improve the patient experience while we're doing that. I think actually there's a lot of fat in the system. The average patient with CHF in this country has 14.7 doctors. I think we can do better than that. The other point I make is that we're developing a very distinctive approach to practice redesign. It is practice redesign that is the major issue around the country. And our approach with respect to education is actually quite different than anybody else. We've taken the approach of redesigning the practice and building learners in. What everybody else around the country have done is said, let's come up with a curriculum and then figure out whether we can put that in place in practice. And I think that's distinctive. You obviously need both. Hospitalist service. I think it's important to acknowledge that this last year was different. For the first time in many years, the volume actually went up significantly. We've been stable for quite some time, and we did that while we were reducing but not eliminating the number of duty hours issues, and that's a stunning achievement, and I think it remains a very good clinical experience for residents. Who are the benchmarks? For me, the UNC hospitalist service, which has a slightly better length of stay, but a comparable length of stay. We're trying to get, as Kathy's been trying to get, core measures and quality measures to do that. Among our family medicine peers, I've discovered in the last several weeks that there is actually a database that compares us. It was actually Oregon who pointed out and said, you guys are better than us. Because Oregon was doing that. And I said, well, I didn't know about that, but I'm glad to know about the database. The granddaddies of family medicine hospitalist services are BU, which is roughly 4 times our size, and Cabarrus, which is getting up to about 3 times our size. But the goals for next year are really clear. It's duty hours, it's reducing transitions of care, and we've been engaged in that, and so far it looks pretty well. The challenge, as always, is how do you balance teaching to duty hours, and Kathy's developing a hospitalist fellowship next year, which I think is a reasonable thing to be doing. Where do we want to end here? I think the dream for me is to develop a service that actually demonstrates value for a community network. To say, if we have primary care doctors driving hospital care and closely connected with a network of practices, that ultimately that's a much more efficient way of practicing than having a disembodied hospitalist service unrelated to primary care, which is where the practice of medicine is going. And in order to do that, we have to be a national benchmark in terms of our core measures. We've got to be better than other people. And this is one of those things where we have to be better than them in order to get in the game. I'm beginning to see some cracks in the facade of the hospitalist movement nationally as people, the average hospitalist practice requires about $150,000 to $200,000 subsidy per FTE in order to be in business. And I wish we had that problem, as all of you know. But that's where the quality of care we deliver becomes absolutely critical. And the other issues, of course, beginning to make the case nationally for the value and the ability of family physicians in hospital setting to be equivalent to other hospital systems, and that's a function of scholarship. MCH, I think the meta year is that Our volume has been in free fall for the last several years. It has actually not only hit bottom but come up some in a very competitive market. This is significant. We've always been in a very difficult. I would say that we're in the midst of reorganizing our MCH leadership and trying to sort out what's our particular niche. We've started outreach and again picked that up again. Group visits are obviously distinctive. And in the last year, we've gotten 2 new faculty who are passionate about deliveries, and I think that that's really positive. Who are our benchmarks? OHU is about the same size as us. BU is impossibly big. There are like 2,500 deliveries a year, and about 30% of them are C-sections, which the family docs do. In our state, it's really, there's 4 residencies that take maternal and child health seriously. And that's Hendersonville. Asheville has come back to it in some way, and ECU is the other one. I think we're quite distinctive here, and we've got a footprint that nobody else has, and it's around all the things we've done in place in terms of innovation and practice and where we're going. So what are the goals for this year? I think we're still in the process of reorganization and outreach and beginning to think about how do we do growth, particularly for, we've got 2 new residents, we need a certain number of deliveries for those residents. What are the lodestars? I think here the core issue is actually saying that reproductive care is a part of primary care. I've, over the last few days, been looking at data about the scope of practice of family physicians across the country using board data. And we're still trying to sort it out, but there's stunning drops over the last number of years in the number of family physicians who do care of children, women's health, not including deliveries. And it is not just MCH that's at issue. It is everything other than adult outpatient care. And that's what we've wrought. I mean, the data I looked at yesterday, I don't believe it, but arguing that there's been this is with a sample of 30,000 family docs, that there's been a 25% drop in those that report any time spent on women's health. I don't believe it, but it's parallel to what we've seen in the care of children, isn't it? It's more than that. And I think we're at very significant times for that.
Lawrence, I have a question about that. Do you know if it's gender related?
I don't think so. That doesn't seem to be. You might think that that was the case.
I just wondered.
But while we're trying to come up with, and there are, I don't want to overemphasize that until I can give you the actual data, and I'll probably send you all of an email about it in my chair of the board role. But the other point is our state needs. Remember there are still 30 or 40 states for which there are real problems with delivery, and it looks at the data, at least the data from 5 years ago, was that it isn't as much deliveries but prenatal care, and sort of how do we do that? Then there's the piece of community health, about which we've been hugely active. Now there's the local piece. Carolina Health Net has been a remarkable success. This is the uninsured project. And we're going up for our 3rd renewal. The last time Bill said, how much do you want to spend? Bill Roper said, how much do you want to spend? We'll give you whatever you want. It was that level of commitment. And we've demonstrated a 50% drop in ED visits, improvement in quality, and a variety of other things. The Wellness at Work project that Mark and Sam and others, this is a new business for us. It's population care for the town of Chapel Hill, and we're hoping to add other towns to that, but we're sort of figuring out how to do it. The radio show, Your Health, is another way of getting our message out, and has developed a nice niche where we're going, thanks to Christy and Adam. Then there are the broader areas. Community care of Central Carolina, BAD is a medical director of, and I'm the head of the steering committee. These are actually pretty substantial. So community care is about 40,000 Medicaid. It's being patients in our area, it being involved in a lot of the things around the hospital, and the IPIP REC NCHQA, and Ann Lefebvre is in the back. We're now up to, about 900 practices and over 3 million patients?
980 and pushing 4 million.